Greetings. Greetings. Welcome to Conversation with Tony Mobley. I'm excited to have my guest today, Omar Gadahn. He is the co owner of Alana Media. He is a live events specialist, a video production professional, and this is episode 21 of 2025. We're happy to have you here, and we are powered by Mimo Live. Welcome to Conversation with Tony Mobley. You can reach us on our website, conversationwithtonymobley.com, or our YouTube channel, Conversation with Tony Mobley. We are using in the YouTube chat Mukana, which is courtesy of Alex Lindsay. What it is a opportunity for you to ask your questions. Not only can you ask your questions, those questions can be voted up or down. That's right. If you choose not to use Mukana, you can ask your questions in the YouTube chat. And we're going to get right to it. And so first, let me say welcome, Mr. Omar Gadahn. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm excited for us to have this conversations, and I'm just going to be transparent and say you blew me away on Zoom Test Kitchen. You blew me away in office hours when you were sharing your mobile setup and you were walking around. And you gave us a preview before you actually used it at NAB. And so we're going to get to the very first question. Who is Omar Gadahn?
Well, hi, Tony. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. That was quite the illustrious open or intro rather for myself, but I'm just a regular guy out here doing video stuff. But I'm happy to hear that you were impressed by some of the stuff that I've done. And I like to try new things and experiment, and I'm a doer, and I make stuff happen, and it's not always perfect, but I do my very best. Um, as for your question, who is Omar Gadahn? As you mentioned, I am a video production specialist, I suppose. I have a small production company here in Orange County, California, with my business partner and brother-in-law, Joe Lonnie. And we do a number of things. Our business is split pretty evenly with live events and sports, corporate AV, that type of stuff on one half, about 50%, and then more traditional like brand videos, social media style, traditional video production, post-production workflow. And and yeah, that's what we do. We have a nice client base, and we have quite a number of people that trust us to do their work, and we do some original stuff as well for ourselves that has gotten a little bit of recognition. And yeah, we're just out here doing stuff.
So tell me, how does a person who graduated from California State University get into all of this video production event platform?
Um, it was a bit of a long journey. The the education at Cal State Long Beach really didn't have anything to do with me getting into video production. I did go for film and electronic arts, but then after I got out of that, I just got normal jobs. I worked at call center for Scantron, the bubble sheet things. Used to take it a long time ago. I worked for them for a couple of years. Then I worked for a tire company, doing more IT based project management type stuff, systems integrations. So I've always been pretty good and competent with electronics and internet and IT and stuff like that. So I had a good, I guess, base there. But the schooling at Long Beach State didn't really, that was more of a theory thing, writing papers. And it was a long, winding road. And eventually, I went like overseas for a number of years. I lived in New Zealand and Australia for a number of years, traveled all over the world in my late 20s, mid to late 20s. And when I got back from doing that, my brother-in-law and business partner, Joe Lonnie, he was doing video production, and their business, Alani Media, was starting to kind of have more work than they could support. So I started working with them, and eventually we kind of expanded the business and became partners. And now we we own the business together, and we do it together. So
That's
that's kind of how
fantastic.
that's the long winding road. I mean, there's a lot of stops in
Well,
between, but
well, so you and your brother-in-law are in business together. Do you have any other family members that are a part of the business?
his brother was a part of the business for a number of years, but then he went his own way. He wanted to be a solo artist, and he left about a year ago. So it's just him and I now. But we did have his brother was a part of the business for a number of years as well. So we were all business partners, and now it's just Joe and I. And we have a good network of freelancers that we work with on a regular basis. In the boom times just after COVID, if other people had boom times, it was boom times for us at least. We had our business grew pretty fast. We had about 5 employees at one point, and then we lost some contracts and we had to contract again and normal business stuff. But just at the moment, it's just him and I, and then we generally hire freelance when we need additional support and build out jobs and all the crew for those.
Okay. So what is cinematic video production?
Cinematic video production, I think, is kind of like it's a way to sell yourself and try to get corporate brands to let them know that you do really high quality video productions. Shallow depth of field, I guess. I don't know. I think it's a bit of a marketing speak, but traditionally it's 24p and 24 frames per second, and the prime lenses and a cinematic workflow where it's traditional post production. But I think that's how we positioned it. Like if you look at some of the work that we've done, I can kind of show you like our reel on our website briefly. This is like cinematic style video production, right? This is more. This is not. This is corporate AV live events. But this type of video production where you're making it look cinematic. Look at that shot underwater. That's incredible. So that's cinematic video production. But I think anybody can really achieve that with a pretty affordable camera these days. So that was one of the reasons why we went into the live events, is because the live video production is exponentially harder, in my opinion. It's so much more difficult. The barrier of entry is much higher, and we just saw the traditional side of our business. While we still have some really great clients, we saw it start to dwindle, and we saw the type of the brands that we were working with, the type of people that they were hiring, they're just more gritty and strappy kids out of university and stuff like that. And we were suddenly competing with them for certain things, and we're like, we got to do something. So about 3 or 4 years ago, we really started um, going into live, and we experimented with a few different things, and we had a lot of fun doing it too. Like it was fun, it was exhilarating. So we kind of shifted our business, and I have a pretty good mind for it. Like I can figure out the technical side of it, which is pretty tough. But that was a good bet because it's given us a lot more stability. Suddenly people have money for events that they maybe didn't have for their normal. People are ready to spend money, I find, on events when they're not on on when they have to plan for their budget, like say 18 months in advance or something like that. And that's the marketing budget is often the first to go. But if they're going to be at an event or the event's going to take place, then people open up their wallet a little bit better, in my opinion.
Thank you, sir. And I just want to let our audience know that this is a great opportunity to put your questions in, to ask Omar questions about what he's doing and how he did the amazing job he did walking around at NAB. What kind of scale does your company do in terms of the live production?
I would say that our live events sit at the high end of the low end, right? So we're not running an OB truck. We're not using Ross Carbonite or Grass Valley cameras or anything of that nature. We're using pretty low end gear, a lot of Blackmagic ATEMs, vMix, that type of video production, which uh, allows us to I think produce something at a level that is um, with all the pieces put together at a level that is like maybe 90-95% of maybe not 95 90% of what you might get if you hired a pretty serious OB truck. A lot of our kit is custom made, like our comm system I modeled after after Doug Johnson's. I watched a bunch of his YouTube videos. Like, oh, that comm system, I can afford that. First of all, I can afford an X32 rack. I can program all the different outputs and integrate a Hollyland wireless system and base station, and I can get a nice comm system from that, and I may be spending three or $4,000 instead of 15 or 16,000. So I think yeah, we sit at a low side of high end, and a lot of our productions look good. We'll rent sometimes on our higher end productions that we do, higher end for us. We'll rent FX6s and we'll use all FX6s in our as our primary cameras. We use a lot of Super 35 cameras, which obviously are a little bit harder to operate in a live environment, but give you a much crisper, more cinematic picture for live. It makes I feel like that kind of translates in our quality. Um, and we're able to position ourselves in a way where you can still get a really high quality live production, but uh, we're a lot more affordable than a lot of people out there. If you're gonna get a trailer, for maybe 70% of the cost, or half the cost, or honestly, I don't know. I'm not really sure. It's pretty expensive out here in California, so depends on where you are.
Yes, sir. Claddock Lopez Waterman, coming in from New Mexico, ask, how did surfing come into your work?
Yes, surfing. So my business partner, Joe Alani, who I mentioned, my brother-in-law, him and his brother, who we started the business with, they've been a part of the surf industry for decades. He worked at Lost Surfboards, which is the premier surfboard manufacturer, high-end surfboard manufacturer in the country. Um, they're here in San Clemente in Southern California as well. And he worked there for about 10 years doing their marketing, making their surf videos, just traditional, surf action with music and kind of cool surf videos. And his brother was the primary surf filmer for Chloe and Dino. He's a professional surfer. He was on tour for the top end of the tour for 10 years, professional tour with the WSL. And so they have extensive roots inside surfing. Um, Not me so much, but I have a pretty extensive tech background, and we married the two there. So they have a really good industry connections within the surf world. A lot of our clients and our client base comes from that network. And a couple of years ago, when we were first figuring out this live thing, we started doing a live surfing show called the Couch Surfing Show that we produce ourselves, and it's our original IP. And and that's kind of taken off in the surf world, and we continue being part of the surf industry via that channel. And yeah, that's kind of where the surf stuff came from. Joe's an avid surfer. He's very good as well.
Okay. We have a question coming in from Mr. Ken Jordan. His question is, how did you find or get introduced to Office Hours Global?
I got introduced to Office Hours Global via NAB, not last year, but the year before. The live coverage that they were doing at NAB on 2024, right? Um, I went to NAB. That was the first year that I actually went to NAB. And I was in my hotel room the night before, just trying to do some research on like what I wanted to go see. It was like a couple days after it started, and their stream, when I searched NAB 2025, was one of the ones that came up. And I watched it for like an hour and a half in my hotel room. I'm like, oh, this is almost better than being on the floor. I think maybe I went on the floor for an hour that day or something like that when I arrived. And I was like, oh, I'm learning a lot more than actually walking around on this show that's just outside my hotel. So that was my first exposure to it. And after that, I tuned in a bit more regularly, and I was like, oh, a lot of the questions that I'm having come up in my workflow and my daily life, figuring out this live production stuff, they're answering a lot of these questions. And I started to learn a lot more from it just by virtue of watching it. And it was really, really helpful just to hear the same type of problems, the same type of issues, and the same type of subject matter that I'm interested in, and all those things being talked about on a daily basis. And then I investigated. I followed, what are the rickety bridge they call it? I followed the rickety bridge, and I got into Mukana and stuff, and I was starting to ask questions myself. In general, I'm still just very much an observer. I don't interact too much, just because the schedule and the cadence of the show doesn't really mesh too well with my life. It's a bit early for me. This time, Tony, is a much more reasonable hour for for someone like myself.
well, I'm glad to hear that. And we also want to shout out some of the other office hour shows that are in the evening, extra hours, and then the rundown, which are also which will be tomorrow night, and then extra hours is on Monday nights. So you should have opportunities to check those out, and we're
Yeah,
happy to have you here with us tonight. Um, and I really appreciate you taking time, and um, please express to your family if you're going to be late for dinner tonight uh, that we appreciate them allowing you to be on with us.
yeah,
And we have another question from Claudia Lopez Wardham, and he's asking, can we see some surfing footage?
sure. So this is the show right here. This is just off our YouTube. We've done about 50 episodes so far over the last 2.5 years. Um, it's just run by me and one cameraman. This one's a little bit more advanced. We do special events where we have like two cameras and a replay operator, but normally it's just a single camera operator and then myself doing everything else. Replay, cutting the angles, doing the audio, comments. Oops, sorry, I'm not signed into a good YouTube. It's giving me. I made 2 cents with that ad. Thank you very much. um, but we set up on the beach. We use a bonded internet solution to get the feed out. We bring in comments via H2R graphics. It's a uh, pretty branded show. We use this super source a lot to kind of like as a safety to show obviously the people that are sitting on the couch on the beach. It's a foldable couch that we bring out there and put on the beach. There's some comments coming in that are live. I'm queuing those up and bringing them into the show as well. And yeah, it's a pretty unique thing in the surf world. I would say it's a pretty unique thing in anything because I would akin it to a podcast where you're having more traditional podcast type conversations similar to what we're having here, but in the scope of surfing, very, very niche surfing, high level, intricate surfing conversation, but with live action. You're getting live action. So people are surfing in front of you. We're stopping the conversation and somebody's catching a wave. So there's this really exciting element of of what could happen next. We're just on the beach there, like literally in front of the waves. You can see we sit on this couch right here. Joe, that's my business partner on the left. These are two guests. That's Mayhem in the middle. He's a board shaper. He's very famous in the industry. Chloe and Dino's dad, Dino and Dino, another super high level famous guy in surfing. And they sit on the couch and we're chatting and we're talking about what's happening and watching waves. And it's a really pretty interesting concept, in my opinion. But it is my show, so I might say that. uh,
Well,
here's me right
it's
here.
yeah, I
Sorry, I
think it's
didn't mean
very
to interrupt.
impressive.
But this is me running the
The
show. I
the
run it.
the only thing that I would add is I think that maybe Ken Jordan had kind of spoiled us a little bit. Any drone shots, or is that in the queue? Something you want
That's
to think about?
we've done drone shots, live drone. So that's
Okay.
just an input, right? So if we have a drone operator that wants to participate in the show, we've had that because it's a pretty well-known show in surfing. So there's some drone operators that'll come down and sit on the beach next to us, and if they have the proper controller that has the HDMI output, uh, the RC Pro or the Mavic 3 and stuff like that, we brought the drone shots into the show many times, and at that point, it's just another input to mix, and it's super cool. I mean, I could probably pull one up here if I searched it for a minute, but yep,
Sure.
we do drone. We have a wireless camera, roaming camera sometimes where we walk around, and if we do events, it's a little bit more of a production like you see here. Where we have a replay operator doing dedicated replay on a vMix machine. We have two camera operators. One's here, one's just off screen. I'm doing a lot of other things. I'm switching the show on a stream deck via BitFocus Companion. I've got a push to talk button here that brings me on air. That's one thing that we do as well. I go on air on the show. It's kind of we kind of bring you behind the curtain a little bit. One by necessity, and two because we find that it's like it's I don't know, it's more organic that way. You if I'm on the show and I just tell people everything what's going on, we're having an issue, some glitch in the show, we just let people at home know that it's happening too. And I find that it kind of makes them a little bit more connected to what's happening on the show, and you get build a little bit more of a connection with your audience in the aspect of this show, since so many things can and do go wrong. you know, wrong with air quotes.
Yes,
um,
sir.
so that's kind of how we run the show. And when we do special events, so we do sometimes cover like surf contests. People will hire us to do their surf contests, but it's still branded Couch Surfing Show, which is our show. And then that's when we up the ante in production value a little bit. That's when we have the 2 or 3 cameras. That's when we have a replay operator. That's when we have a wireless roaming camera, stuff like that. But if we're just doing a normal show on the beach at any given day, it looks a little bit more like this. This is pretty early on, but this is the setup. There's like a couch on the beach. We have 3 cameras on tripods for the couch cams, and then we've got a table with a couple laptops and A10 mini SDI. It's how we get our ISO records for social later. We have this crazy camera with a bunch of different program feeds and recorders and a GoPro, and I have a little Sony action camera over here. So, uh, but it's pretty compact, and we're able to set it up within an hour, hour and a half or so.
Any anything to protect that equipment out in the elements like that?
Do not
Anything
buy my
specific?
equipment used. Don't buy from me. If anybody is watching this, I beg you not to buy my equipment. That is a dangerous proposition. There's only so much you could do. The cameras, they're weather sealed, but it's hard. It's hard on the elements. And the elements are hard on the equipment rather. And we put everything in that box, like I said, so that protects some of the gear. We drape some stuff over the backside where the ports are, but some of our ports have rust, and that's just cost of doing business. On some level, it's pretty low end equipment. As I mentioned, it's expensive stuff. Like, I mean, if you total it all up, it's going to be pretty expensive. But on the scale of equipment, it's pretty low end. And ATEM minis and ATEM SDIs, they're not 10,000, they're 1,500. And the Blackmagic Pocket 6Ks pros, those are the cameras we use for the couch, and those are 2,500 instead of 4,000 or 10,000 or whatever. So I don't like the stuff getting the elements thwarted on them, but yeah, cost of doing business.
Do you use specific software in order to keep the surrounding sounds like maybe the wind or ocean splashing or anything like that out, or it's not an
Um,
issue?
No, it sometimes it is an issue. We use no software, but we have the for this show we use the Audio Technica BPHS ones. Those are the broadcast style headsets. They're pretty affordable by Audio Technica, about $220 each, and we use 3 of those. And those are extremely directional, and they isolate the audio pretty well. If it is a windy day, which it can be on the beach, and the microphone is pointed in the direction of the wind, you'll hear wind noise, but it's just something you have to deal with. And we do our best to mitigate it by putting up your hand or putting up a umbrella or something like that, or turning your back to it a little bit more. But yeah, there's been shows where the wind noise is less than pleasant.
Well, before I ask my next question, I want you to share your website again, please, sir.
Sure.
And as you are sharing that website, we want to reach out to any of our office hour family members that may be in California to reach out and connect with Omar, and you may be able to do some business with each other. And we want to do that. Um, thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Yeah,
much for
Alani.media. You want to check our work?
Alani.media.
Yeah,
Alani.media.
these are some of the brands that we've worked
Sounds,
with.
sounds of the ocean. Okay, thank you so much for sharing that, sir. Um, please talk about your device that you used at NAB.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So at NAB, I'm going to share my screen again as well. This was what it looked like. It's a bonded internet cellular encoder. um, bonded cellular internet coder. I don't know, something like that. It's called a Bella Box. It's a Raspberry Pi um, that's loaded with custom software called Bella Box. There's a guy in England that develops it. It's just a single guy, and it uses SRT-LA, which is a bonding solution. LiveView uses LRT, which is a proprietary bonding solution. Teradek uses maybe TRL, TRA, TLA, something like that, their own proprietary bonding solution where it takes multiple cell phone connections. It takes those video feeds and splits them up evenly amongst each individual internet connection, cellular connection, sends them up to a cloud server, reassembles the packets into a video feed, and then you push that back somewhere else via SRT or some other way. But this one is a pretty low cost solution. It's built into this little Sterilite container right here, and it works pretty well. I wouldn't use it in a production environment. I have, but I wouldn't. It's it's a lot. I think it's designed mostly for IRL streamers on Twitch. It's a low cost entry into that, where the people that are just doing it themselves, they're just regular people that start a Twitch channel, want to walk around their community, go to events, do stuff like that. But you can see like it's a bunch of wires here. Any of these things can get unplugged. It's kind of can overheat pretty easily. So, but it gets out a pretty good feed. You can kind of see me walking around NAB, and I'm using the camera here. The image quality isn't fantastic because the camera I'm using is a Sony FDR X3000, which is a little action camera from 2017 by Sony. But it's got built-in image stabilization and a really wide field of view. So it's actually fantastic for walking around and kind of doing that walk and talk type of experience for people. I'm just jumping around. There I am. See, I mean, that's inches from my face there. And there you go. Here's me walking around. And it's relatively smooth, so people don't get too jarred from it. That was, I think, on the first day that I did it. But I also did it the next day with CJ from Office Hours, CJ Covell, and we walked around together and we actually did interviews with different different vendors at NAB. Here's Scarhoy. We did this to after hours, so it wasn't to the primary show. So you can't really see this anywhere. This is just a local recording that I, unlisted recording that I put to YouTube to watch later myself. But we did a proper walk and talk, and while the image quality wasn't fantastic, the experience was pretty good. Like you had that a good interaction with the people there on the site. I figured out an IFB solution via Discord and the Zoom meeting, and taking the audio out of Zoom and putting it into Discord and putting that on my phone and listening through my AirPods so I can get my mix minus. And yeah, we did some pretty it was a pretty good experience for how little the footprint was. I mean, it was a really tiny little like selfie stick and a tiny camera about that big. I don't have the camera right next to me, but it was pretty fun, and people seemed to respond well. And I think I had a very reliable feed. There was a few people. I think CJ was just going live on Zoom on his phone, and it's just not quite as good as versus when you have a full bonded solution that's sending out 1080p 60 and coming in as real fluid and reliable. But it worked good, and I didn't know how it would work in the environment there in NAB because it can be congested.
Well, I was impressed by it. I was impressed by your demo. I think, I had never seen anything like that. But I'm a newbie when it comes to video production, that kind of thing. I'm still learning, but I would have to say, as a novice, that I really was impressed with it. We have another
well, thank
question.
you, Tony. Before you get to that next question, I actually a little exclusive for you. On Friday, I'm going to go to Cine Gear, and with the help of Robert Green and Guy Cochran, we're going to do a similar thing at Cine Gear on Friday. And I can show you.
Oh, that's fantastic.
My upgraded rig here. So this is what I will be using on Friday. So it's pretty heavy, but I'm going to have a camera cart too. But this is essentially the same thing, but not. So what we've got is a Sony A7S III that is being powered by this small rig battery. I've got an Atomos recorder monitor here that I'm passing the video through, and I'm sending that video into the same bell box that I showed you before. Um, right here, I'm going to have the Zoom after hours meeting on this screen right here. Right now, it's a picture of my baby, but it'll be the Zoom after hours there. On the back side, I'll have my phone here with that runs the Discord IFB, so I can hear after hours without my own voice. And into that, I have it going into this dongle. Sorry, it's a bunch of wires. I have it going into this dongle, and then I have it going into a Comtech IFB. So I have 3 receivers for this Comtech. This is what we use for IFB on certain shows, and I'll be able to send the after hours audio into the contact, and we'll be able to give a contact to the people on the show floor that were the vendors that we're interviewing, and they're going to be able to have a direct conversation with the people in after hours, and they'll see them right here, the gallery view right there, and they'll be able to have a nice call. This is a 20 mil Sony full frame lens, so you have a nice wide field of view, and yeah, that's what we're doing. We're going to do that on Friday, and it's a lot heavier
Oh,
than my
wow.
rig at NAB. So we'll have to
Yes.
see how long I
Yes.
last, but it'll be a much higher quality picture than you saw just a moment ago. It'll be pretty crispy, full
Version
frame.
2.
Version 2 and one version 2 is not great for my back, but you know, I like to do new things.
Oh,
So
okay, fantastic. We got an exclusive, and it's going to be streamed in after hours on Friday. Do we have a time in the after hours? What
so
time?
the floor, I think the admission is at 11 a.m. Pacific. So I think we're just going to try to hit the ground running right at 11, probably from like 11 a.m. Pacific to 2 or 3 p.m. Pacific is when we'll. I can't really put this down somewhere. Maybe just put it down. I don't want to drop this. 1 second.
That's
Um,
fantastic.
yeah, about three
Yeah.
or 4 hours, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's just one of those things. It's not live on YouTube, so you have to be in the after hours community, the office hours. So follow that rickety bridge if you want to participate and watch along. You'll be able to interact. So that's one thing we were missing at the last one is we would have to like translate questions from after hours to the vendors on the floor, but they'll be able to put on headphones and have a direct conversation with everybody in after hours. There is a little bit of latency that it needs to be managed, and so people don't step over each other. But it'll be a nice experience to have some direct conversations with all the vendors at Cine Gear. So, and there are a lot of them
If
there.
you if you're interested in participating and asking questions, I ask that you go to Office Hours Global. There you can sign up and you can participate in after hours, and you'll be able to interact with Omar on site with version 2. Is Guy going to be on site, or is he going to be remote?
No, he'll be remote. He's going to manage the feed. So I'm sending the feed rather at NAB. I sent the feed to my office computer here, and then I kind of managed it remotely from my phone, which wasn't a great experience. So I couldn't make any quick changes to the audio or turn or mute or do this or do that. So I'm sending the SRT feed to Guy in Seattle, who's going to pipe that into after hours, and then he's also going to bring the audio into the comm solution that we're going to use, which is just a Discord call, and that's he'll just kind of manage the feed and be our eyes and ears inside after hours to be able to make changes if we need to, or let us know if something's going wrong or something like that.
All right, tune into after hours to see what's going on at Cinegear. Thank you, Omar, so much for sharing that. Ken Jordan is back, and he says, "What lens did you use on the camera to capture the surf footage?"
Yes. So the lenses that we use, and we've used a number of different cameras on our surfing show, and we've done more traditional surf broadcasts as well. So there's a couple of different options. If you're going Super 35 or um, I wouldn't recommend full frame. Full frame's a little bit harder. I would take a full frame camera and use a Super 35 crop. But the minimum that you usually want is a 100 to 400. The Canon 100 to 400 is a pretty common option. Sigma makes a 150 to 600, I believe, as well that you could use. And those are the generally the lenses that we'll use with our Super 35 cameras, uh, whether it's the Black Magics. We'll also sometimes use micro four thirds, and we'll adapt that with a Metabones, which gives you a little bit more focal distance as well, which is good. So the 100 to 400 turns kind of into a 150 to 480 or something like that. But we've also used camcorders like prosumer camcorders. Um, the what is it? The Panasonic CX300, I think is the model number. That's one that they released in 2020. We've used that one a number of times. The Sony Z90, I think, is the model number. It's a little small one. That's a pretty good one. But yeah, those are nice because you have a lot of throw. You can get pretty far out there. You have rocker zoom, so those are obviously nice things for live. But because we use the Super 35 cameras, there aren't any good zoom power zoom lenses that are affordable that you could use. So we use photo glass, and we just don't worry too much about zooming. I'll cut away, you'll zoom out, zoom in when you're not on the shot. We leave that in there too sometimes. Like it's not that big of a deal, really, if the content is still good. Do you know what I mean? That's
Yes,
one of
yes,
those
I know
that's one of
exactly
those
what you
things.
mean.
Yeah,
The conversation with Tony Mobley is essentially a lab,
yeah,
and
exactly.
we try to make sure that although we do delve into a lot of technical jargon, um, we try to make it a little bit more palatable to people who are just interested in hearing a little bit about technology. So um, we we are known for trying things live, and sometimes the result is not the best, but we do that. So I appreciate you sharing your process for doing the things that you're doing, and I I'll be transparent and say I didn't know about the surfing portion of your production, so I'm really interested in it, and I'm going to be exploring more on your page.
Yeah, I think we have a
Um,
show this Sunday. If you guys want to follow the Couch Surfing Show, just search the Couch Surfing Show on Google or anywhere. It'll pop right up on YouTube. And we do it live. I mean, that's one of the things I think that makes separates it, because we could easily go down there, film a session of surfing, and not do it live, and record it and then upload it later, and it would still be good. But I don't know. There's an X factor with live. I mean, you're doing this show live, so you understand that. Everybody that's working on the back end on this show understands it. There's some X factor when it's live. People speak different. People react different. People like feel the little bit of energy. We bring comments into the show just like this one, where that's not done in traditional surf broadcast or podcast very often, like um that's it so then it kind of opens up the rest of the world, and it gives access to these people, and nobody else in surfing is doing that. So we're pretty stoked on what we've created. And yeah, we have a show this Sunday. It's going to be a pretty good one. There's a the WSL CT, which is their highest level championship tour event in Lower Trestles, which is in San Clemente, California. It's about a 45 minutes south of where I am right now, and it's the one of the big stops of the year. And we're going to go there the day before the contest opens, so all the pros will be in the water. It's just a free surf session. You could film your grandma, and you could film the world number two on the back to back on our show, and you just don't know what's going
that's
to happen. And
fantastic.
we'll be out there on Sunday if you guys want to watch at 9
Yes,
a.m. Pacific.
that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Um, I'm curious, what software are you using with all of that hardware on the beach?
On the beach, it's a pretty stripped down, but Bit Focus Companion is a big driver of a lot of the stuff. So I can set macros. I have all my super sources set to macros on the ATEM, which are triggered by Bit Focus Companion. We use vMix for our replay. We used to do the replay with we would send the action camera, the one that's filming the surfing, through an Atomos recorder. This is when we first started the show, through an Atomos recorder, and we'd be recording on that the whole time. And we'd have the output of the surfing camera go into the switcher, and then we'd have the output of the recorder going into the switcher and a different input. and we would just do the replay off of the Atomos recorder, and we'd trigger a stinger and have it right behind, and you can barely tell. Obviously, the big limitation there is as you're playing a replay, you can't be recording another one. So that is a big
Right.
limitation. But for our show, it was fine. You know, you get what you get, you don't get what you can't. Um, but now we use vmix laptop, and I run the replay now myself. I have a bunch of hotkeys set up to do last 20 or last 15 seconds depending on the wave that we're at, or last 5 seconds, and I trigger it that way. And then what else do I use? I use H2R graphics to run the comments and trigger some of our graphics. I need to get away from it, but I actually have most of the show is built in OBS because that's all I knew when I first started doing this. And I built a bunch of different scenes inside of OBS. And I have ones for starting show, ones for graphics. That's where I trigger the replay stinger. That's where we have a bunch of different segments on our regular show, like the kook meter and the wave of the day. So we do these pre determined segments that we do pre-production on, and I trigger all that from OBS via Companion. But OBS is pretty rough with the deck link output and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's kind of what I'm using.
I have a recommendation for you.
Yeah, please.
Check out Free Show. It's primarily church based, but it has some alternatives that I think you might find attractive. It does a lot of the things that Pro Presenter does for
Right.
houses of worship, but you could utilize it for I think you could possibly use it in your use case.
Okay, I'll take a look at it and I'll see if maybe
Okay.
it'll
We,
slide in.
we have a question all the way from Warwick, Queensland, Australia. Zachary Sorensen. Can you please talk about your work with Speedo?
Sure. Yeah. So Speedo was a big client of ours for a number of years, less so in the last year or so. They took a lot of their video production internal, as many companies do when they start spending a bunch on video production. But for a number of years, we were their primary video production partner for specifically for their underwater stuff. So our former business partner Noah, he's a really high level, which is Joe's brother. He's a really high level underwater cinematographer, and we have red cameras. That's what we use on our normal video production business, and underwater housings for them, and so that was really the way that we got in there initially, and then they just started trusting us and giving us more work. So we do their seasonal. They usually do two a year. It's their athlete driven. What do they call it? Like their performance shoots, where the Olympic athletes that they have signed come in, showcase the new uh, race attire for the upcoming season, 18 months from now or whatever. And then we would film them. Um, yeah, just there'd be a shot list. It's usually based on the particular uh, piece of racing gear that they would be trying to showcase, and it's our big RE lights and video village and cinema cameras and jibs and gimbals and really high level um, corporate video production. Not corporate,
Yeah, it
yeah,
sounds
branded video production.
amazing. Yeah, this sounds very professional. So I
Yeah,
want
it
to say
was super cool. We were
congratulations to
really,
you because I don't know many people that are doing this kind of work that you're doing. So it's
yeah,
amazing.
probably the biggest thing with them is 20 just before the Olympics in Japan. They Sorry, not in Japan, excuse me. The Where were the Olympics? Were they in Japan?
Paris,
Yeah, in Paris. Sorry, just before the Olympics in Paris, they did their big Olympic campaign in Japan. There was the international finals for swimming, the high level swimming there, and they flew us out to Japan, and we got to film that campaign there with them in Japan with all of their international athletes and from Australia and Canada and US, and they were all there under one place, and we had two really big days of production there, and that was super cool to do that. They brought us out there, and yeah, it's pretty exciting. You can kind of see some of the no black screen. Never mind. Trust.
Okay. We have another question from Ken Jordan. His
Mhm.
question is, with the new mobile rig you've just shown, complete with all the attachments, how long do you expect the external battery to last?
So I'm not exactly sure because I didn't do any tests, but probably about 2 hours or so, 2.5. Um, so yeah, my rig will go down for maybe 25 seconds. I could probably figure out a way to hot swap it if I really needed to with the Sony battery and the battery on the back of the Atomos, but um, probably about 2.5 hours. But I have four small rig V mount batteries, so that's pretty negligible. Maybe even a little bit longer, to be honest with you. But we tune in and you'll find out because my my thing will die as we're interviewing the top dog from Teradek.
Okay, okay, okay. So, I'm just curious. So, what are you using tonight? What's your setup tonight?
Yeah, tonight I've got it's actually a GH5 that I'm using because I have a bunch of those, um, and a 12 to 20. What is it? 20 12 to 24. Um, and it's behind a newer little teleprompter. I'm going into vmix with sorry, I'm going into a Blackmagic ATEM mini, like the very first original one. It just goes in there, and then I have that outputting to just via UVC to vmix. I'm bringing it in via vmix, and then I'm sending that over to Zoom via external output. So it sounds complicated, but this is what I've set up, and it's pretty easy. And then I have this mic going into like a Personas mixer that I had lying around, and I have that going into vmix as well as an audio input. And I'm delaying the audio there a little bit to try to get lip sync. Hopefully, I haven't checked that in a long time, so hopefully my audio is in sync because maybe it's not.
Okay. Um, we have another question from Clark Lopez Waterman, who happens to be the producer for Conversation with Tony Mobley. I don't know if you knew that or not. Um, his question is, what is the secret to succeeding getting views and subscriptions on YouTube?
um, yeah, that's hard. It's a struggle on YouTube. I'd say our biggest outlet for our show, while we put all the energy and effort into YouTube, and we have I think just over 9,000 subscribers to our show on YouTube, which is a lot, but also is not. You know what I mean? If you're trying to make it a business, that's not nearly enough to make it a business. Although we do make money with the show with our events, but um, I mean, obviously the content has to be good. That's first and foremost. If your content isn't good, nobody's going to watch, right? So there's that. But beyond that, you need to be um, to like, in my opinion, you need to be like working with people that have an established following. So we get a lot more views on our videos if we have people that are popular on YouTube on them, right? So there's a big part of that that's kind of sucks, but it's the truth. Um, that helps at least fast track a lot of things. But yeah, our biggest platform is Instagram, is the social highlights that we make after the fact. That's we get way more engagement and views and interaction on our 1.5 minute highlights, which we spend a lot of time on the highlights on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube Shorts, but primarily Instagram. And that's where most people that have seen our show will reference it. It's just from that stuff because that's that's where the views are. But you just keep doing it.
What,
It's a hard show
what,
to do. So I don't know
yeah,
if that
what's
answers
the,
the question, but
yes, yeah, it does. What is the software that you're using to make the shorts or yeah, the shorts?
uh, sweat, tears, and grit. We do it all manually inside of DaVinci. So we have like
Okay.
12 channels of isolated video that come in after every show. It's eight primary and two sub mixes from another ATEM. We have a program record on an Atomos Sumo that we do, and we line those all up within the DaVinci. Um, and I take all the audio isolated channels and I line those up as well. So in case I want to remix the short, and then we evaluate what we think is the best clip based on what happened on the show, and or best clips. We usually do about 4 or 5 per show, and then we cut it manually and we recut it fully for vertical. So we'll have we do a traditionally top and bottom. We'll pull it up real quick on Instagram. We have traditionally a top and um, gotta log in. I wasn't prepared. The perils of the live demo. But if you go on our Instagram, it's like a top and bottom type of interaction. We'll go full screen sometimes um, on it, but yeah, we recut that fully in DaVinci and then we'll export it. So we've tried using things like Opus and stuff like that for AI generation. At least I've tried that with our show. But our show program, the program of our show, is heavily super sourced. So it doesn't do well with the super source, and it doesn't understand when action happens, right? When there's action, yes, the conversation continues, but we don't want to see the conversation. We want to see the action because action's talking about it. And it doesn't know how to go to the action to highlight that's what you really want to see. So our show is a really difficult one to use with AI. So, yep, just pure sweat
We've run
equity.
out of time, but can you briefly talk about the on your website? You have some videos of some MMA
Yeah,
fighting.
yeah.
Can you
So
just
one of
share a
our
little bit about that?
Be happy to. One of our big clients is a local. They're probably the biggest regional MMA organization in Southern California. They're called UNF, and we do their pay-per-views for them. We've done the last, I think, 12 or 13 of them over the last year and a half, and it's a pretty gritty setup for what it is. We use FX6s. I use a small DM3. There's my I've got some high end stuff. Like I've got a Joco for all of our audio ISOs. There's the X32 for comms. That's where we run all of our comms off of that. Here's a vMix machine that we do all of our replays and playbacks on. There's 8 channels of replay. I think we do 5 channels of replay, 3 channels out, 1 playback, 2 replay channels. There's our TD right there. This is the box that's actually behind me back here, right there. That's got our ATEM 2ME constellation. It's got a 32 by 32 SDI matrix. It's got a fiber converter for fiber for our cameras. It's got a Magewell encoder that I just got recently. I've got a Teradek bonded encoder on the top there. We do our audio ISOs, or sorry, our video ISOs via ATEM SDI. So that's all of our camera ISOs. And we do a submix here as well with a couple more channels. And then I do my programs ProRes and my clean feed ProRes via HyperDex. And then we do another graphics machine. Sorry, it's kind of tweaking out, but we've got another graphics machine that we do all of our graphics via vMix as well. So that's kind of the quick and dirty for our MIA. And again, we punch well above what that equipment really should be doing. Do you know what I mean? And it's all in a
You're
fly
pushing
pack.
the envelope. Yeah.
Big time. And we set it up the day before and we stream it the next day, and we have to break it down and set it up every time. And which that just inherently brings a lot of problems too. I mean, really this should be a truck show. You should be bringing in a truck for this, and they have in the past. But one, I think our pricing is too good for what this is, so they can't say no anymore. And we keep succeeding with it. And if you watch back the show is actually pretty incredible for what it is. Like for the value that they get and what it looks like, it looks pretty good. So not to toot my own horn too much, but so you keep putting
Well,
out good work.
I think you should toot it. I think
All right, well,
I watched a couple of the videos and I mean it was top notch. Um,
yeah,
and
I'm
the
giving you the
sound was
program.
good, the video was good, everything was good. So thumbs up definitely. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
No worries.
Next to last question. What's next for Omar Gadahn?
Well, Cine Gear on Friday, so tune in for that. I'm gonna an after hours. We've got Couch Surfing Show on Sunday, so if you want to watch that live, see all the flubs and stuff, and also the fun show that we put together. It's a pretty fun one. It's pretty loose and loosey goosey. That's on Sunday. And then we've got shows over the summer for couch surfing. We do these Grom contests with Rip Curl. You've heard of them. They're a big part of the surf industry, a big brand there. And so we go to their contests and then go to Hawaii and New Jersey and Virginia Beach with the show. Um, and then what else we got? We've got some corporate stuff that you'll never see. So we're doing that. But yeah, I just like to do stuff. So I mean, that's one of the things with office hours that I really like, and why I spent the time to do the stuff I did at NAB. Again, I don't participate. I think I've been on the show twice because it's too early, like I mentioned. But I get so much from the show. I like to give back. So, and I like the community that it fosters. I think it's really exciting to see what people are doing and just giving free knowledge. So, if I can give a little bit of that, that's cool. Um, reach out to me on Discord. I'll give some free knowledge if you have some questions. So not that I'm like
Okay,
some big authority, but I got some answers. I love to give
well,
answers.
you heard it here first. He said reach out to him on Discord.
Uh-oh.
So you heard it here first. And so our very last question, and then typically we ask this question of all our guests. You're speaking to the world. What do you want the world to know?
Ooh, that's a big question. Um, I don't know. I'm not sure. What do I want the world to know? I want the world to know that we do very high-end video production, and you can reach me at alanimedia.net. Omar at alanimedia.net. Now, for the world, just be kind to each other. It's crazy out there all the time, all over the world. Lots of crazy stuff always happening. I feel fortunate to be where I am, and just treat everybody with kindness and respect. I think that's a much nicer thing that I want the world
Thank
to
you,
know.
sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, so much for being here with me tonight on Conversation with Tony Mobley. I really appreciate it. And we want to say thank you to all of our guests who are watching and those watching on our website, as well as those who are watching on YouTube. We want to thank everyone who asked a question tonight. We had some great questions from all over the globe. And Omar, I just want to make sure you recognize that we had questions from all over the globe tonight. So that was amazing. Conversation with Tony Mobley is produced by Value Audio Visual Professionals who meet daily on Office Hours Global, hosted by Alex Lindsay. We want to say thank you to Mimo Live. This show is we use the software Mimo Live, which is a television production software package. And all you have to do is have a Mac. Um, we have conversation with real people. We ask that you stay tuned for future episodes of Conversation with Tony Mobley. We want to thank everyone for the 100 plus episodes of Conversation with Tony Mobley. And when you have time, we ask that you go look back at the conversations that we've had in the past, and hopefully you will find something that will be helpful to you. Again, Conversation with Tony Mobley wants to thank Mr. Omar Gadahn for being a part of our conversation today, for doing the work that you do, and for being the person you are. Next week, we're going to have Mr. Ken Jordan coming back to us, but he's not going to be talking about AI. No, this is a departure. Mr. Ken Jordan is coming back next week, and he's not going to be talking about AI. He is going to be talking about behind the scenes in the news industry. That's right. Next week, Ken Jordan will be back giving us a behind the scene view of the news media. We want to thank everyone again for being a part of this conversation. We will continue to have conversation with real people. We ask that you like and subscribe to Conversation with Tony Mobley. Feel free to donate at conversationwithTonyMobley.com. You can donate by one-time donation, or you can donate monthly, however you choose to. We want to thank everyone so much for being a part of Conversations with Tony Mobley. We want to thank our guest this evening, Mr. Omar Gadahn, for taking time out of his schedule to be with us. We're going to say take care. God bless you. See you soon.